here we go. This is my first off-road test ride of the project after finishing the paint job. So let's see what kind of capabilities this thing has as a scrambler. I have some troubles throughout the video with the bike shutting off at idle. I think I just had the idle speed set too low. I think with the Harley mufflers it's a little louder than you'd expect the Honda to be, so you kind of feel like it's idling high enough, but in reality it's not. Once I fiddled around with it a few times and turned it up, it never stalled on me after that. That being said, I don't know, I've been meaning when I drive it a little more and get the fuel tank kind of low on fuel, I've been meaning to take out the petcock and the little filter element that's attached to it, because I kind of suspect that some of the things I used to clean out the tank, like the acetone, rust remover and stuff, maybe I didn't get quite all of it out, and maybe some of that could be gumming up the screen. But whenever I just did an adjustment to the pilot jets to get it to run a little better through the mid-range, low range, mid-range, definitely improved it, but I noticed at the bottom of the float bowl there's just like kind of white gum. And I think that's probably what it was, some residue from the fuel tank cleaning, so might need a little bit of a touch up there. That could maybe have something to do with why sometimes it kind of stutters a bit, but there's always a few bugs like that to work out with one of these project bikes, I find. I'm pleasantly surprised with this thing's highway capabilities as a 450. I'll have to maybe add on to this video some footage from the second time I rode it, where I took it on the highway and kind of saw how it could get up to 120 kilometers an hour and how well it could maintain that speed in 6th gear. And it surprisingly doesn't have to work very hard for a 450 with that 6th gear in overdrive. It cruises along at 120 with like a fairly low hum. It's not like screaming. So I was kind of surprised, to be honest. I almost feel like I could change the sprockets to be a bit lower, because that would be better for scrambling. But even on the highway, I felt like I don't really expect to go faster than 120 on a bike like this. And, you know, it wasn't working that hard, and it almost seemed like slightly lower gearing would benefit it, because in 6th gear, like, it can maintain its speed, but it cannot accelerate whatsoever. You definitely have to shift down if you want to increase your speed at all or go up a hill or anything like that. The 6th gear really just holds it. I feel like a little bit lower gear ratio definitely wouldn't hurt the bike. And considering its purpose, I think it would be ideal. Although the chain and sprockets on it are in pretty good shape, so I feel like I probably will wait until they're worn down, unless I really find it's limiting once I get into more serious, you know, not that I plan to do serious off-roading with this bike, but, you know, maybe some off-road trails and dirt roads like the one in the video. And so if I find the gearing really just is too high, I may do it sooner, but otherwise I'll wait till they wear down. I'll have to look into what the actual ratios are on the front and rear sprocket and see what they are now and what I could change them out to. And I may go with a 520 sprockets and chain if possible, just because I find they're more readily available than the original 530 sprockets and chain. But I imagine that's doable, but we'll see. I haven't really looked into it yet. I don't know about the viewership, but I am just loving this two-tone paint job. It's not perfect, but I think I did pretty good for an amateur, just using spray cans. Yeah, I feel like that kind of dark green, forest green and gold, it's actually touch-up paint from my Yamaha Royal Star. I think they call it Desert Gold or something like that. And then just a nice 2K clear coat. Like I said, it's all spray cans. It's really not that hard to do your own paint job on a bike, in my experience. And I just sort of printed off a couple decals on 11 by 17 sheets of paper, you know, like in the shape of the gold part, and sort of made a mark where the decal would go, the Honda wing, and just sort of taped them on really carefully and painted around them, and then yeah, I used a bit of silver pinstriping to mask a few mistakes, but I think overall, you know, it looks pretty good. From 5 feet away, at least, it looks perfect. From up close, it looks like a few little mistakes, but still generally good enough for a, you know, sub $2,000 probably in value bike. So yeah, really happy at it. I definitely feel like I could get better at painting and body fill and that kind of stuff. I'm gonna just keep practicing, I guess. And yeah, not that I need any more bikes to practice on, but we'll see. My gold wing I think I'm gonna do next. So as I say in the video, I mean, this is literally the first time I've driven off-road on a motorcycle, other than when I was about 12 and had this little street trail 70s dirt bike thing. So obviously, yeah, I'm going kind of slow, and I'm not really wearing the right clothes either, because I didn't expect it to be as wet as it was on such a sunny day. So I was just wearing jeans and didn't really want to get splashed too much, and yeah, just kind of wanted to ease into it. I think the bike could handle a bit more aggressive riding. I find, you know, it doesn't have the suspension travel. It probably can't hit potholes too hard. I do have a set of progressive springs for my Gold Wing that I feel like are probably able to fit in this bike's forks. So I may consider putting those in. I feel like the forks on these are pretty soft, and it may be beneficial to make them stiffer just so it doesn't bottom out quite as easily. I don't know if then it may feel too hard, but it's probably better for the bike. Who knows? If I really seem to get into this off-road stuff, I think eventually I could look into maybe putting an alternate whole front end swap. I believe, from what I've looked online, may require some modification, but I think a front end from like a Trans Alp and some other off-road bikes might possibly go onto this bike without too much work. And then in order to put longer shocks on the back, you would lift it up some more. You could probably get some kind of dirt bike shocks that are a lot longer, but you would need to get put in some kind of a chain roller system, because the chain obviously is going to start rubbing on the swing arm, and so you need to counteract that.
I can see why they say you gotta stand up a lot off-road. My first time ever doing it, really, other than when I was a kid on a dirt bike. That's so long ago. I don't think I'd remember much about it. I was maybe 11, 12, little 100cc. I don't think it had good rings, so it probably didn't put out as much power as it was supposed to even then. Wish I still had that little thing though. It handled a lot like this from what I can remember. Slower, but kind of similar, not really a real dirt bike, kind of more of a converted motorcycle. This is fun as hell though. I've been missing out. Off-road is where it's at.
I feel like after this video, when I got it back, I did some adjustment on the pod filters and the runners that go to them, I feel like they might have been a little bit loose, or maybe allowing air to leak through a little bit sometimes, which might have been affecting the idle, and the reason why it kind of shuts off sometimes. It hasn't done it to me since, so probably that's all it was. Just needed to turn it up a bit, seal it up. I think by this point I was starting to get a little more confident on it, pick up the speed slightly. Here's a little footage from the second day of riding it. So you can probably tell the idle has moved out a fair bit after I did a little bit of messing around with the pods and turning up the idle speed, that sort of thing. Still haven't cleaned out that fuel filter in the tank, but I'll get to it. But yeah, mainly from this day I just wanted to kind of show off the little highway test I did, so I won't spend too much time here. But I couldn't resist showing off a little bit of off-roadery before we get to that. It does seem to handle pretty well. It's you know, you got to take it easy over the bumps. You can't go too fast over them like you could on maybe a full-on dirt bike. But
yeah, okay, those going a little faster over this stuff. Not bad. Good to stand up. But I don't feel it like bottoming out or making too much protest.
Alright, so here's my little highway speed test. Like I say, for a 450, I'm impressed with it. It can get up to speed and seems to hold 120 pretty well. Right at the very end, I switch it to the 6th gear at 120. It just sort of purrs along. Like I was saying before, it doesn't really have the ability to accelerate in that gear, just hold the speed. But yeah, for 450, they usually struggle on the highway, so I was impressed.